I hope you guys are having a good day, and I hope you're having a good evening. And I'll say this to you before we start talking about politics, and I apologize, I might be repeating myself, but for those of you who didn't hear me because of the conditions, and before we go into what my stories behind the scene in Washington are, and before we talk about some of the things we're going to talk about next, I want to again, for those that didn't hear me, and for those that hear it, say it again. Thank you. And thank you so much. Thank you to every single one of you, each and every one of you who has stood with me from the beginning. All of you subscribers, all of you followers. That first, when I first came on to all of these platforms, it was incredible what you gave me. To those of you who have followed every update, every live stream, every piece of information that we uncovered together. Because of you, today I'm proud. I'm proud to announce that I'm going to be running for Congress in Florida's 27th district. Remember from the very beginning, I told you this platform would stand for one thing above all else, and that's speaking truth to power, standing up for voices that were ignored, for survivors, for the whistleblowers, for each and every person out there, people of the Ukraine fighting for their freedom, the kids, the elderly, for the people of Venezuela suffering under dictatorship, but especially for each and every American, each and every one of you who felt like their government has stopped listening to them. Together, we built something so powerful. We went from a community to a movement. We became a force for truth. It's every American who believes in corruption that must be exposed. Every citizen who believes justice matters. Every patriot who believes democracy is worth fighting for. Together, we build a platform that exposes the corruption happening behind closed doors, the back channel dealings between governments, the secret alliances between oligarchs and politicians, the quiet negotiations that shape the lives of millions, from Russia to the Middle East to Venezuela to Washington, D.C. Every day, I bring you information that most people in politics would never dare speak about. But remember, I'm not some pundit, and especially I'm not a reporter. I'm I'm someone who was inside of those rooms. I'm someone who saw the way the system works. I'm someone who saw how power is traded. I was part of making and building that mega. And what we are seeing play out today in the world did not just begin yesterday. It didn't begin overnight. The roots go back years, folks, back to the first Trump administration, back to conversations that happened behind closed doors. And I know because I was there. That's why tonight, that's why tonight I'm announcing my candidacy for Congress in Florida's 27th district because I can't sit on the sideline anymore and watch this play out. Let me tell you something about who I am because many of you know my name, but not everyone knows my story. I came to this country as a little boy from the Soviet Union, a place which is now called Odessa, Ukraine. My family escaped authoritarian rule, a system where the government controlled speech, controlled opportunity, controlled your future. A system where corruption wasn't the exception, it was the rule. It was the rule where powerful people lived by one set of rules and everybody else lived by another. You see, my family came here searching for freedom, searching for the opportunity, searching for the promise that democracy could actually work. But you gotta understand, growing up wasn't easy. I grew up in the streets of Brooklyn. My father passed away when I was 11 years old, but I was blessed because I was raised by a strong mother, along with my incredible sister. Like many kids growing up in tough neighborhoods, I looked to power, to strength, to success, to people who seemed larger than life, people who had influence, people who had money, people like Donald Trump. At that time, he represented the American dream. And like many young people trying to find their path, I got suckered and I believed in that dream. But life has a funny way of taking you places you never expected to go. Just think about it. A kid that grew up in the streets of Brooklyn, that in 1995, when I was only 23 years old, I made a life changing decision. I moved to Florida. And for the past 30 years, this incredible state has been my home. And this is where I raised my family. Six of my children were born here, who are proud Florida natives. This is where I built my life, where I watched South Florida grow, where I watched neighborhoods expand. where I watched immigrants arrive with dreams just like my family once had. I have seen the highs and I've seen the lows. I've seen this community transform into one of the most vibrant regions in America. This is not just a place I live, this is home. From Florida to the White House, life eventually took me somewhere I never imagined. I never imagined that from South Florida, I found myself inside a world of an American politics, inside the orbit of Donald Trump, inside the rooms from global politics and the power were being shaped. I traveled to Ukraine. I traveled around the world in back channel diplomacy, in conversations that affected international relationships. I spoke with people. Today, talk about Trump, envoys, and negotiators. But the truth is, I was there first. I was the one that was sent by Donald Trump to go into those rooms, which is why I understand what is happening today better than most, because I've seen it before, because I've lived it before. You see, all you're seeing right now is an illusion, because at this time, I believe I was serving my country. I believed I was helping America. I believed what I was doing, what the president wanted. But what I was actually experiencing, folks, it was called an indoctrination. I was indoctrinated into a movement, into a culture, into something that revealed itself over time as something much, much darker, a political cult, a movement that we call MAGA. And when you are inside something like that, you don't see it immediately because you believe the mission, you believe the rhetoric, you believe you are in the right side of history until one day, until that one day when all that illusion breaks, that collapse, that one day when my life changed forever. Everything that one night, everything I built collapsed. My family, my wife, my 7 children watched our world fall apart. I was arrested. I was pulled into one of the biggest political scandals in modern American history. But something important happened in that moment. I woke up. I woke up and I made a decision that I would tell the truth, no matter the cost. And trust me, I paid dearly. I paid with my freedom. And so did my family. Because speaking to truth to power is very difficult. But I testified under oath in front of Congress. I provided hundreds of documents and pieces of evidence related to Trump's first impeachment. And since that day, I have spent every single day of my life for the past 7 years speaking truth to power. From writing, from investigating, from going live on these platforms, from sharing information, from exposing corruption that my sources keep telling me. Because you see, once you see the inside of this evil machine, you can't stay silent. Because look at what's happening in the world today. Look at Venezuela. Look at the Middle East. Look at Ukraine. Look at what is happening right here in America, right here at home. Authoritarianism is rising, folks. Our democracy is under siege. Corruption is spreading across borders. And you know, I recognized it immediately because I saw it growing inside our own political system years ago. And that's why Florida matters. And that's why I want to bring us back to Florida again, because Florida is not just another state, folks. Florida has become one of the most important political backgrounds in America. It is where power is organized. It's where alliances are built. It's where political movements are launched. It is the home base of Donald Trump. It is where the national political machine surrounding him now operates. Because what happens in Florida does not stay in Florida. What happens here affects the entire country. And this is a place I call home, the place that gave me and so many others the opportunity to earn a second chance. If you take accountability, if you put in work, Florida really is the land of second chances. If you fight for yourself, Florida will fight for you. Now it's my turn to fight for Florida. Florida's 27th district, that place in Florida, that the 27th congressional district, a district right here in my Miami-Dade County, a district built on immigrants, a district where families from Cuba, Venezuela, Nicaragua, Colombia, across Latin America came searching for freedom just like my family did. Many of the people in this district fled authoritarian regime. Some fled communism. Some fled dictatorship. Some fled political persecution. But the one thing we all have in common is this. We know what authoritarianism looked like. We have lived it. We have seen what happens when strong men destroy democracy. We understand why freedom matters. That is the strength of this district. But over the years, something troubling has happened. People here have been told one story while something very different happens behind closed doors. Politicians stand in front of the cameras talking about freedom while quietly enabling the very forces that threaten it. They talk about standing with immigrants while supporting policies that allow families to be torn apart. They talk about supporting the people of Venezuela while political deals continue that leave those same people suffering. The people of this district deserve better. They need leadership, not slogans. Leadership is about courage. Leadership is about truth. For months, I sat back and I would ask myself a question. What do you do when you know the truth about how power works? What do you do when you have seen this corruption from inside? Should I stay silent because of the threats? Do I walk away and keep quiet? Or do I fight? And I tell you, the decision wasn't easy because I had to think about my family, my children, the risks involved, the constant threats that I get every day, the intimidation that I go through, that my family goes through. But I also thought about the responsibility that comes with knowing the truth. And I realized something, that talking is not enough anymore. That's why I promised each and every one of you this year is about action. The announcement that I'm saying to you tonight, I want you to know that after everything that I have seen, after everything I have lived through, after long consideration, I made a decision with my family that I will not stay silent, that I will not remain on the sidelines. And that is why I'm running for the United States Congress in Florida, this 27th district. I'm running because our democracy needs fighters. I am running because our district deserves honesty. I am running because I know the system, Donald Trump's system, from the inside. Because remember, I helped build MAGA. And now, I promise you, I will do everything in my power to dismantle the corruption surrounding it piece by piece, truth by truth, until democracy wins. But I want you to understand that this fight is not about me. This fight is about all of us. And as President John F. Kennedy once said, ask not what your country could do for you. Ask what you could do for your country. And that is why today I'm answering that call and I'm asking you to answer it with me, because democracy is not something we inherit. It's something we defend, folks. And if we stand together as citizens, as patriots, as Americans, then no political machine, no corrupt politician, no authoritarian movement will ever take this country away from the people again. So if you can, please go to levremembers.org and contribute what you can to my campaign, $1, $10, or $100, to show Donald Trump and his people that the political establishment, we, the people, we will not be pushed around. You've come so far this with me. I'm asking to join me on this journey. I want to thank you for everything. I want to God bless you. God bless America. And folks, now it's time to take our country back.